Live from Nairobi, Kenya. This is the weekend edition with the US journalist Stanley Nyaringita. Catherine Simolowi is on the sign language docket. Now tonight, over 170 million TikTok users in the United States of America are not using TikTok. Well, it has been a ticking time bomb for that particular country. Now we're going to be localizing that conversation tonight with one gentleman who brought up the whole TikTok ban in Kenya, Bob Ndolo. Stick around for that conversation. We're asking you, how should TikTok be regulated in the country? Talk to us on our social media platforms. Later on, we get to talk about peace-building initiatives that should be happening in the North Rift Valley in the country. All that, but first to the highlights.
Tonight, a fresh contingent of Kenyan police officers has been deployed to Haiti, bolstering international efforts to restore stability in the troubled Caribbean nation.
We were to welcome our brothers from Kenya who came today. Just like the Commandant Otenge said, you are home.
Also tonight, former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is locking horns with a rising challenger, Maina Njenga, in an intense battle for dominance in the Mount Kenya region.
Ndio atuangaishe, amefufua ile kikundi haramu ilikuwa nasumbua kina mama.
Also tonight, in a dramatic turn of events, residents of Molo and Elbagon stormed a funeral home, seizing the body of a murdered activist as they demanded justice for the tragic killing.
The whole of yesterday ameshinda na watu, mtu ambaye alikuwa full of life. Leo tumempata ako lifeless.
And Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja has sharply criticized a recent directive from the Control of Budget, warning that the move could derail the education of thousands of vulnerable students across the county.
Na ndo maana nataka muombe yule Control of Budget arudi line kidogo.
Thank you for joining us tonight. Tension was high in Elbagon and Molo towns as residents took to the streets following the brutal murder of a renowned activist, Richard Otieno, on Saturday night. According to reports, Richard Otieno was murdered by unknown assailants about 200 meters away from Elbagon police station. And today, the residents stormed the mortuary where his body was preserved and took it along to the protests. Chichi Josephine now tells us.
Tension remained high for the better part of the day in Elbagon and Molo towns as angry residents took to the streets following a gruesome murder of a renowned activist, Richard Otieno. The protesters allegedly stormed a Molo sub-county hospital in Elbagon and retrieved Otieno's body and carried it, marching along Joro-Molo Road demanding answers and justice for their own.
Sisi mwito wetu ni kwamba hatutatulia na hatutasika Richard kabla hatujajua ni nani aliua yeye ama ni nani alitumana.
Nataka kuuliza ni vijana wangapi watakufa kwa hii mikono ya hii serikali. Wacha tukufe na wananchi. Hata sisi tuko ready kukufa na hao vijana kwa sababu hawana mwenyewe.
Otieno, popularly known as Molo President, is said to have been a renowned critic of the government and especially the area member of parliament, Kuria Kimani.
Alikuwa mmoja ambaye alikuwa ameaccused kupanga maandamano ya kuharibu kwa mbunge wetu hapa Molo. So kutoka hiyo time amekuwa threatened, amekuwa akishare screenshots za threats kwa social media.
Residents, community leaders and human rights activists strongly condemned the killing and called for thorough investigation and accountability from the authorities.
Tunaomba serikali yetu haswa idara ya polisi wazingatie, wahakikisha kwamba wataenda to the deepest kuhakikisha kwamba wamewashika wale ambao walifanya hichi kitendo, na ili haki ya ambaye mwenda zake iweze kupatiwa, aweze kupatiwa haki yake, familia yake iweze kupatiwa haki yake.
We are not happy. Kama itakuwa kila siku tunaamka tunasikia kijana amekufa, I think this is the third or the fourth.
In a press conference, Molo Member of Parliament offered his condolences to the family and the entire Molo constituents, noting that he had contacted the Rift Valley Regional Criminal Investigations Officer and the Nakuru County and Molo security teams and demanded expeditious investigations into this matter.
Injustice is injustice, irrespective of whom it is made on. I will therefore be the last person to imagine anything bad happening, even to my critic. Investigations should be done, even to who stands to benefit when those things happen. And your guess is as good as mine.
The circumstances surrounding these murder most foul have not yet been established. However, it is believed that Richard was headed home when unknown assailants accosted and attacked him, inflicting serious injuries on him, leading to his death.
Wakampiga choka ya nyuma ya kichwa na akaweza kuaga.
Chichi, Josephine, TV47.
Meanwhile, 73 people, among them 9 children from Kabianga and Masaita villages, are recuperating at the Londiani Sub-County Hospital in Kericho County after consuming contaminated sour milk, popularly known as mursik. The victims reportedly consumed the mursik during a church graduation ceremony. Sheila Chelengat tells us more.
Medics at Londiani Sub-County Hospital had a busy Saturday afternoon and Sunday morning, admitting 73 people from Masaita and Kabianga villages presenting similar symptoms of severe vomiting and diarrhea after consuming a popular homemade milk-based drink called mursik at a church graduation ceremony.
Watu wengi sana walikunywa, karibu watu wamejaa karibu 100. Na hiyo shida yenye alitupata, tunatafika, tunara na kiuno ni uchungu, kichwa ni uchungu.
Tulipofika hapa kulikuwa na msongamano ya wagonjwa. Tulilazwa watu zaidi ya 30 hapo jana, na leo watu zaidi ya 10 pia wamekuja.
According to these residents, the milk was supplied to them by a well-known vendor.
Huyo mama anatembezanga maziwa hiyo. Haikuwa ni siku moja, ilikuwa inaendelea kuuza maziwa. Lakini jana sijui nini ilifanyika, sijui ilifanya nini hiyo maziwa ikaturu watu wengi.
For Betty Kirui, nearly her whole family is admitted in this hospital. Her 2 children are among the 9 children admitted here for consuming the milk.
Kunywa na watoto wangu wote kwa nyumba. Mmoja akakataa akasema mimi natumia fresh, siwezi tumia mursi. Na tukakunywa hiyo maziwa, asubuhi kuamka tumbo kuhara na kuumwa na tumbo na kuumwa na kichwa.
Medics say that the children have been the most severely affected by the incident, with some experiencing extreme dehydration.
Bado wako na hiyo signs and symptoms, wanaendesha, wengine wakitapika. So tumewapea dawa, wako still on treatment.
Local health authorities in the area are investigating the cause of the contamination in their bid to prevent similar incidents in the future. Sheila Chelengat for TV47.
From Kericho County to Nairobi County, a major disturbance was witnessed along Jogoo Road for the better part of Sunday as irate residents of Mbotela Estate in Madaraka constituency occupied the busy road protesting against the eviction on Friday.
Transport was paralyzed along Jogoo Road for a better part of Sunday as irate residents of Mbotela Estate lay mattresses in the middle of the road and occupied them to show their discontent following their eviction on Friday.
Kitu around saa 11 ndivyo walitupata hapo. Wakakuja wakiwa na mavijana, makrooks, wakiwa na manyundo, machoka na mapanga. Na gari za polisi zikakuja kama 3. Wakaanza kutupomolea.
Hii tuko kwa barabara, tunalala kwa mitaro na watoto wetu tunakuliwa na ubu. Hatuna kitu chochote tulibakishiwa. Vitu zote zilienda na vijana walikuja kutupomolea.
The residents have accused influential people for allegedly grabbing their land and sending goons to demolish their houses despite them having proof of ownership of the land.
Makaratasi yote ya kanjo tuko nayo yenye tunalipa rates. tuko na allotment letters, tuna building plan ya kujenga plan ghorofa 3. Saa hii tukastuka sana kusikia hiyo shamba tena imechukuliwa na mtu mwingine anaitwa Kimemia. Amekuja kutunyang'anya.
Nakumbuka tulikuwa katika koti ya Milimani. Kimemia naye alikuwa amekuja huko. Tukiwa hapo nje Kimemia alikuja akatuambia yeye ndiye anaitwa Kimemia na ako na pesa nyingi na atatumia marafiki zake wote mpaka ahakikishe amechukua hiyo shamba.
The residents are now appealing to the government and relevant authorities to intervene and help them get justice over the contentious piece of land as they've been left homeless with nowhere to go.
Tuko hapo serikali zote ya Ruto, ya Uhuru, ya Kibaki, ya Moi, mpaka serikali ya Kenyatta tuko hapo. Hatujaisikia hata siku moja mtu anakuja kusema hiyo ni kiwanja ni yake. Na kama hiyo kiwanja ingekuwa ni yake, hiyo miaka yote alikuwa wapi? Miaka yenye tumekaa hapo mpaka saa hii. Tunalilia serikali yetu ikuje itusaidie. Waone vile wanyonge wanafinyiliwa huku mitaani. Hatuna hata maguo za kuvaa. Hatuna masufuria ya kupika. Zote zilimepo mpaka gazi zenye tulikuwa tunapikia. Hatuna kitu.
They further faulted the developer for evicting them illegally, further alleging that he flouted a court order that required him to appear in court on January 30th.
DC akatuita. Akaenda akatuambia tutoke kwa hiyo shamba bila makaratasi. Tukamwambia tuko na court of appeal, akasema yeye sio koti. Kwa hivyo anjaenda pale. Ndivyo atiakate kesi ama akuwe na kesi. Sisi anajua tutoke na anaweza kuja anytime kutupomolea.
Na hakutumia city council wakuja watubomolee. Na makaratasi zote zetu ni genuine kutoka kwa city council. Hawakuenda kuchunguza kama makaratasi yetu iko genuine. Walikuja tu wakasema tutoke na vijana wanaletwa kuharibu vitu zetu.
Samira Mohammed for TV47 Nairobi.
Right, now time for some weekend politics, and the supremacy battle between former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and former Mungiki leader Maina Njenga keeps heating up after the two clashed again Saturday in Nyeri County. The former DP has since castigated government over what he termed as unleashing the leader of an outlawed criminal gang and his goons to disturb a peaceful religious gathering. And as Micah Gongo reports, religious leaders involved on Saturday's skirmishes criticized the incident, calling on political leaders to uphold sobriety while attending a church service.
Kura zote hapa Rift Valley ni za William Ruto.
In the run-up to the 2022 general election, former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua and former Mungiki leader Maina Njenga stood side by side politically, but with a discernible plan to win the election. But with the dramatic unfolding of events 2 years after the election, the two leaders appear to have ended up in two different camps. Gachagua in the opposition and Maina in government. The former Mungiki leader Maina Njenga and his supporters on Saturday decided to join an interdenominational prayer meeting in Nyeri County, led by Pastor Dorcas Gachagua and fellow clergy, in which Gachagua was expected to attend. His unannounced arrival caused a major disruption, which ostensibly caused Pastor Dorcas Rigathi and her team to flee before the prayer meeting was over.
Maina Njenga akiingia mahali pale, mimi nilikuwa nafikiria ni Governor Kahiga wa Nyeri. Lakini kufika pale karibu na mimi ndio niliona hata hewa anga imebadilika. Ikakuwa kitu ingine.
Eventually, Njenga was led onto the main stage despite the melee, joining the remaining clergy, which included Reverend Maina wa OTC. As one of the main conveners of the prayer meeting, Reverend Maina wa OTC says he had not invited any political leaders, even though he had published his event on social media.
Kila mtu alikuwa anajua tuko na maombi pale Nyeri. Kwa hivyo hakuna ule mtu ukizuilia, kwa sababu ilikuwa kwa media, ilikuwa kwa social media, tulikuwa tunaitana na njia zote.
The former Mungiki leader, however, said his arrival was not politically instigated, since he was only attending a church service as a bishop in his own right.
Ukichukua video ama picha, walikuwa na kunyang'anya simu, wanaenda gallery kila pahali, wana delete hizo picha zote na video, alafu wanakurudishia simu. Sasa hiyo ni vibaya sana watu kuja kwa maombi. Kama hutaki kuonekana kwa video ama kwa picha, kwa nini umekuja kwa hiyo maombi?
Mount Kenya residents now says area politics may take a new twist if the rivalry between the two is not settled at the earliest.
Tukiwa wakazi, tungesema kama Gachagua na Maina Njenga washikane, wakishikana wanatuelekeza pahali moja kwa sababu Gachagua na kona wafuasi wake.
Njenga hakuna mahali anatupeleka. Sababu Gachagua ndiye alichaguliwa na watu wa mlima.
Tunauga mkono Gachagua. Gachagua ndio wetu. Na tukiangalia mlima vile inaenda siasa, kuna vile ile kitu imefichwa pale. Lakini tunajua Gachagua ndio tulikuwa tumeshaguliwa kwa ballot. Hatujui mambo ya Kidiki.
Following the drama, Gachagua criticized President William Ruto's government, blaming it for what he calls unleashing the leader of an outlawed criminal gang and his goons to disrupt peaceful prayers and desecrate the altar. Gachagua feels the state is desperate.
Sasa naona huyu rais wetu amerudia tu hapo. Ametuharibia uchumi, ametuharibia biashara, watu wamemkataa. Ndio atuangaishe, amefufua ile kikundi haramu ilikuwa nasumbua kina mama.
Gachagua, who graced another service in Laikipia County, claims that President William Ruto was using the tactics of the late President Daniel Arap Moi to calm the unrest in the Mount Kenya region.
Wakati tuko na maombi, watu wanaingia wakipiga makelele nini, wanaweka watu uoga. Yale maombi mlikuwa mmepanga, watu wanashikwa na uoga. Wengine wakatoroka, wengine wanasema hivi.
Njenga officially endorsed President Ruto in December 2024, urging citizens of Mount Kenya to support his administration. Mike Kagwango, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Mike, for that. Now, President William Ruto has asked his predecessor, Uhuru Kenyatta, to stop inciting youth to protest. This comes a day just after the fourth president asked youth to defend their rights through protests, asking them not to be afraid of anything. The head of state was speaking during an interdenominational prayer service at Cheptais Boys High School in Mount Elgon constituency, Bungoma County, where he started his six-day walking tour of the western region.
President William Ruto today, accompanied by some leaders, attended interdenominational prayer service at Cheptais Boys High School in Mount Elgon constituency, Bungoma County. In his remarks, Ruto seemed to be offended by the recent remarks of the fourth president, Uhuru Kenyatta, on his call for the youth in the country to fight for their rights.
Kama wazazi, kama serikali, kama viongozi, tusiwapiganishe watoto wetu. These young people of Kenya, they don't need violence. They don't need confrontation. They want opportunities.
Kwamba mpira ni rahisi ukiwa wewe ni spectator hapo kando. Ingia kwa kiwanja ndio ujue hata uwezi kimbia hata kidogo.
Rais mstaafu alifanya yake, tukampatia nafasi yake, akamaliza. It cannot be business as usual. Wewe ukishastaafu, kaa nyumbani, ukae uone vitu zikiundwa.
Kwa nini ati wewe wananchi wachochewe kuharibu serikali? Na nchi hii wakati itapata shida, hata yeye, hata kama ako na mali nyingi, yeye pia atakuwamo ndani hapa. Si ati atahepa. Hapana. Unless ahepe mapema kabla maneno haijakuwa mbaya.
President Ruto has however said that the merger of the UDA and the ANC party is an effort to strengthen the unity of Kenyans and not tribalism.
Na tumeunganisha chama ya ANC na chama ya UDA, sasa ndizi ni chama kimoja kwa sababu that is the spirit of unity. We are not uniting either as parties or even under the broad-based arrangement against other Kenyans or against any region or against any community or against any person.
Kuungana kwetu ni kwa sababu lengo la muhimu ni kuhakikisha kwamba yale ambayo anaamua, yale mazito tumpatie nafasi, tumuunge mkono.
Tutashirikiana kuhakikisha rais wetu
anajenga nchi yetu vilivyo ili kutatua matatizo tuliyo nayo.
President Ruto has also assured Kenyans of the adequate security, saying that they will set up a border post at Chepkube Market along Kenya-Uganda border to fight counterfeit materials in the country.
Sasa hii Chepkube tutabadilisha ikuwe soko ya biashara, si ndio? Na nimekubaliana na nyinyi tutajenga pale border post.
The head of state has started his 6-day development tour in Western region. He is expected to steer the first payment of sugar bonus to farmers at Mumia Sugar Company in Kakamega County.
Muliona kwa magazeti ile program ya leasing ambayo ilikuwa imekwama kule kotini. Sasa tumeivunjilia mbali, tuanze tena upya.
Rais wetu alipata nchi ikiwa hali mbaya. Na ile mwendo amepiga hatua. Hata kama tusipohesabu vitu vingi, umeambiwa walimu wangapi wameandikwa kazi.
Wewe ukatuahidi kwamba kwa vile saa hii uchumi umekuwa sawa sawa, sasa wewe unaenda kufocus kwa zile miradi na kwa zile ahadi ambao uliambia Wakenya ili uweze kuzitimiza.
Na kushukuru kwamba tarehe 6 mwezi huu wa Januari serikali yako iliwachilia milioni 420 kwa mradi na fedha zinaitwa Cherry Fund, ukuzaji na kuimarisha uzao wa kahawa.
Some education matters now, and Nairobi Governor Sakaja Johnson has slammed a recent directive from the Controller of Budget, Margaret Nyakango, which effectively halts county government bursary programs, warning that the move threatens to disrupt the education of thousands of vulnerable learners. Speaking during a service at the Church of Christ in Africa, Governor Sakaja decried the decision, highlighting its impact on these learners, over 24,000 of them in Nairobi alone. He further defended the county government's bursary programs, arguing that they are not an infringement on national government responsibilities, but a vital lifeline for needy students. The governor's concerns were echoed by local leaders, including members of parliament and members of the county assemblies who attended the service.
Na ndo maana nataka muombe yule controller of budget arudi line kidogo. Alisema tuache kupeana bursary na tusipeane scholarship. Sasa hizi niko na watoto 1500 wako kwa scholarship ya governor. Na somesha form 1 hadi form 4. Sasa ikikatika form 2, huyo mtoto ataenda wapi? Si mliona ile circular alitoa? Si tunasaidia watu wasome. Idea kule mbele elimu inafaa iwe bure kabisa. But kwa sasa nimeona vile haiko hivyo. Utaangalia mtoto anaumia, wewe unafikiria kwenda kutunga sheria nyingine mpya. So unasaidia kwanza ule umeona ako na shida. In the last 2 years tumetoa more than 1.8 actually 2 billion shillings kwa watoto wetu wa Nairobi ili waweze kusoma kwa secondary, kwa primary. Na hiyo in 2 years nimefanya 2 billion.
To matter security now, and another over 200 police officers from Kenya arrived Saturday in Haiti for the United Nations-backed mission led by Kenya to battle violent gangs that have taken over parts of the troubled Caribbean country. They were received by the Haitian Presidential Advisor of Public Policy, Fritz Alphonse Jean, among the top government officials. Some 10 countries have altogether pledged over 3,100 troops for Haiti as part of a UN-backed security and policing force. But few have so far deployed. George Maringa paints this picture for us.
Continue to pray for them.
They stood berets off, heads bowed and rifles on chest.
And to the world.
For a customary tradition as they prepared to depart for Haiti, a departure that signifies Kenya's continued commitment to the multinational peace mission aimed at tackling the deep violence that has ravaged the country of Haiti. Among those present to see them off was Kenya's newest Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen, who addressed the officers and cleared up key concerns surrounding the mission.
And I know many questions are being asked by some people to say, we haven't sorted every other problem, and why are we donating our police officers to go, yet we still have many other problems in the country? We don't usually do or give out of abundance of what we have.
The first batch of officers sent last year was tasked with patrolling, community policing and helping train Haitian law enforcement personnel. And according to the government, their work has made a significant impact, improving local security, strengthening community ties and reducing violent crime in some areas.
The assignment is important. It is important for our country, it is important for Haiti. It is important for you as individual officers. I want to remind you that you are individual representatives of our country. And more importantly, representatives of the National Police Service. So your conduct there is critically important for all of us here.
However, the mission has not been without challenges. Reports indicate that nearly 20 officers from the initial deployment resigned, citing pay delays and poor conditions. Despite these hardships, the Kenyan police have remained committed to their mission.
As a country, we are extremely proud of the 400 police officers who went ahead of you, and they have done a fantastic job. Actually, the entire world are appreciating our country. Including the outgoing and the incoming administration of the United States and many other countries in the world who are members of the Security Council are very proud of the commitment that we made as a country.
As they boarded their Kenya Airways flight, the officers embarked on a journey that will take them thousands of miles away from home, a journey that will not only impact the lives of millions in Haiti, but will also leave an indelible mark on their own. The stakes are high, but their mission is clear. And for the people of Haiti, their arrival brings hope that peace can eventually be restored. Haitians have expressed their gratitude for the professionalism and dedication shown by the Kenyan officers. As the violence in Haiti claimed over 5,600 lives last year, about 1,000 more than in 2023, Kenya's contribution is seen as crucial in restoring peace.
We have to say right now, the Kenyan troops are in a region in Haiti called Atibonite, and they are fighting hard. These are challenging times for Haiti. And in challenging times, we need friends like you to help us face the challenges. We want to thank you.
In total, more than 3,100 troops from around the world have pledged to support the United Nations anti-gang mission in Haiti, with contributions from countries like Guatemala, El Salvador, Jamaica and Belize. But it is Kenya's leadership in deploying officers that has made a notable impact. Kenya initially promised to send 1,000 officers in total across several phases. Now, with the new deployment, the total number of Kenyan officers in Haiti has reached nearly 700. George Maringa, TV47, Nairobi.
All right, thank you, George Maringa, for that. Away from matters of relationship between Kenya and Haiti to a relationship between Kenya and the USA. So a veteran Kenyan artist is urging American President-elect Donald Trump to reconsider his attitude and views towards the black people. Professor David Mailu's way of doing this is through the construction of, get this, a toilet featuring a sculpture of the American President-elect. Quinto Wafula tells us more.
For the statement yesterday. Around 7 years ago, while serving as President of the United States, Donald Trump was reported to have made an infamous remark about African countries, a comment that caused a large amount of outrage and criticism over what was seen to be his poor view of Africa and Africans. Today, shortly before his inauguration, one of Kenya's veteran artists is sending a message to President-elect Donald Trump.
And I thought, goodness, that's...
Through this sculpture on a restroom wall bearing the name of America's President-elect, Professor Mailu has expressed his disappointment with Trump's comments years back, which he claims demonstrated racism.
There are people who can say, let it go, it didn't matter.
Mailu explained that his deep love for people of color motivated him to create the sculpture, hoping it will stand as a testament to history. and also ensuring that black people are respected.
Black community is an endangered community. It's just about 15% of world population, and they seem to be used to being manipulated. A correction. I'm trying to recover, or telling people to recover from what has been damaged.
Now, the veteran artist is hopeful that Trump, upon taking office tomorrow for his second term, will change his perspective on Africans and treat them with respect.
And I'm saying this is not what Africa is. Please, President Donald Trump, this is not good.
Kinto Wafula, TV47.
Most definitely, as Quinto says, the inauguration of President-elect Donald Trump happening tomorrow, a few hours from now, for that particular country. Away from that, at least 86 people are dead after a devastating explosion in Niger State, Nigeria on Saturday. The blast occurred when locals attempted to scoop petrol leaking from a broken-down tanker. The tanker, which had developed a fault, prompted the driver and bystanders to use a generator to pump the fuel into another truck. The explosion occurred during this operation. Before the blast, a crowd of locals, including market women, abandoned their goods to gather petrol from the leaking tanker, unaware of the danger. Fuel tanker explosions are tragically common in Nigeria. Just 2 weeks ago, a similar incident in Delta State killed at least 5 people. In Niger State, 4 months ago, a collision with a fuel tanker killed 48. And in October 2024, a tanker explosion in Jigawa State killed 90 people. This tragedy underscores the ongoing risk of fuel-related accidents in the country.
In the early hours of today, we received an information about a deadly tanker that crashed between Diko and the Maje Road here in Burada local government area of Niger State. This tanker that crashed here in close to Diko Junction, there was a careless attempt that was made to transfer the fuel into another tanker using local generator.
What happened here this morning? I want to go to Maji. Then one trailer I want to change offloading. Then unfortunately one trailer fall. When you fall, oil, the petrol started flowing down. Before you know, people started coming to come and fetch the oil from there. They started dragging, some people bring gallon, all these kind of things, they bring, unfortunately the fire explode.
Right, hour. Thank you very much for sticking around with us. Continue talking to us on our social media platforms. That is at TV47KE on Facebook, TV47KE on Twitter, at TV47_KE on TikTok. Speaking of TikTok, on US, 170 million plus users are not using their TikTok. Why? Because it has been banned, following a whole law. We'll be localizing that conversation right here in Kenya with a gentleman who started that whole conversation last year, Bob Ndolo, just asking the National Assembly to have that app banned. And we're asking you, how should TikTok be regulated in Kenya? How should TikTok be regulated in Kenya? Don't go too far. Start talking to us on our social media platforms. We'll be back after this short break.
Are you ready to elevate your business game?
As long as you're earning something, there's always that opportunity to save. And you start with where you are.
Kama wewe ni mfanyabiashara, huwezi kaa bure, unajipanga taratibu vile inavyofaa.
Join us each week as we dive into the stories of the world's most driven entrepreneurs.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
The Grind, where business meets brilliance. Tune in every Monday at 7:30 p.m. because your business deserves the best.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2. What position were you? Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m.
Thank you very much for sticking around. This is TV47 Weekend Edition. Catherine Semaloi is on the sign language docket. I'm yours truly, Stanley Nyaringita. Over 170 million users of TikTok in US, as I said earlier, are not using their TikTok right now because of a law that has been passed that has been upheld by the Supreme Court. So before we get into the whole conversation locally, let's try to understand the whole genesis of all this. Who said what and all that? First off, we begin with what the White House Secretary, Press Secretary, said about all this. And just to quote what she said, the administration, like the rest of the country, has awaited the decision just made by the US Supreme Court on the TikTok matter. President Biden's position on TikTok has been clear for months, including since Congress sent a bill in overwhelming bipartisan fashion to the president's desk. Karine Jean-Pierre, who's the White House press secretary, continues to say in the next slide that TikTok should remain available to Americans, but simply under American ownership or other ownership that addresses the national security concerns identified by Congress in developing this law. So that is according to the White House press secretary. Also continues to say that given the sheer fact of timing, this administration recognizes that actions to implement the law simply must fall to the next administration, which takes office on Monday, which is tomorrow. So that is according to the White House press secretary. Now let's take a look at what the U.S. Attorney General, that is Merrick Garland, also had to say about this. The court's decision enables the Justice Department to prevent the Chinese government from weaponizing TikTok to undermine America's national security. Garland continues to say, on the next slide, authoritarian regimes should not have unfettered access to millions of Americans' sensitive data. The court's decision affirms that this act protects the national security of the United States in a manner that is consistent with the Constitution. So now let's take a look at what US President-elect, that is Donald Trump, said as of 6 p.m. today on his Truth Social platform. And I quote, "I'm asking companies not to let TikTok stay dark. I'll issue an executive order on Monday to extend the period of time before the law's prohibitions take effect, so that we can make a deal to protect our national security. The order will also confirm that there will be no liability for any company that helped keep TikTok from going dark before my order." Let's take a look at also what TikTok had to say about this. So the statements issued today, so that is now yesterday, January 18th, by both the Biden White House and the Department of Justice have failed to provide the necessary clarity and assurance to the service providers that are integral to maintaining TikTok's availability to over 170 million Americans. TikTok also goes on to say, unless the Biden administration immediately provides a definitive statement to satisfy the most critical service providers, assuring non-enforcement, unfortunately, TikTok will be forced to go dark on January 19th, which it has happened. So away from matters USA, now in Kenya, this is how much and how big TikTok is in the country. This is according to ByteDance. ByteDance is the Chinese parent company owning TikTok. 10.60 million. These are the users aged 18 plus and above. Now remember, and you and I know this, in Kenya, they are people who use TikTok who are 18 below. Now, considering this, last year, around June, you do remember a name like Bob Ndolo, do you? Well, he was a gentleman who raised eyebrows for a whole conversation that actually sparked quite the controversy about banning TikTok. And we do have the gentleman with us tonight. Just to help us understand, do we need to ban TikTok? Well, the petitions committee, chaired by Nicholas Mbai, said, no. We don't need to ban TikTok. What we need to do is regulating TikTok. And we ask you tonight, dear viewer, how then should we regulate TikTok? I'm seeing quite a lot of your feedback coming in on our numbers. 0793 267 279 is our WhatsApp number. Call us live, 0795 045 864. And just to now bring him, the gentleman himself, Bob Ndolo, he'll obviously tell us who he is more, apart from being the famous. If people see you, they just remember TikTok. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much. My name is Bob Ndolo.
Yes.
I did the petition. That was in August 2023.
Yes.
We sent the petition to the National Assembly. And then the Committee on Petitions invited us to give our views. When we appeared before them, initially our petition was to ban TikTok. But when we appeared before them, we amended the petition from banning TikTok to regulating TikTok.
Okay.
So after that, we got a team from TikTok, all the way from South Africa.
Before you continue, just briefly,
Yes.
what school of thought were you in when you now did that amendment and said, instead of banning, let's regulating it?
Actually, we wanted a national conversation. That's why we used ban TikTok for the National Assembly to give it prominence.
Okay.
If we had just sent a petition like regulate TikTok, I don't think we'd be even here. So that's the reason why we did the petition as ban TikTok. But when we appeared before the petitions committee, we amended the petition to regulate TikTok.
Okay.
So actually, it's being regulated because of our petition.
Right.
Yes.
And in that whole conversation, quite a number of sector players came in: the Communication Authority of Kenya, KFCB, bloggers, a number of bloggers, and so many others.
Yes.
You did learn a thing or two about this whole conversation that people are actually saying that maybe you had not even included in your prayers. Could you tell us about that before we now get into this whole meat of the conversation?
Yeah, quite a number of organizations came through.
Okay.
And they were interviewed by the Public Petitions Committee, including Communication Authority of Kenya, quite a number of organizations. So basically, we were invited by the TikTok team from South Africa. They came to Kenya, we met them, we gave our views, they agreed with us. As per last 2023, when you could go on live at night, on TikTok, it used to be like almost like a red light street, whereby you'll find very young girls selling their bodies. You remember the words nowadays, you can't hear them about nyonga na mia, nyonga na mia mbili.
So you're attributing that whole conversational conversation up to now, a lot has changed. Do you agree?
Actually, you can't see that on TikTok nowadays.
Okay.
It's really well regulated. You can't post anything on TikTok that is offensive, and it can't even be there within 30 minutes.
Okay.
So it's really well regulated.
Right. So those are your words, well regulated.
Yes.
Let's hear what the Cabinet Secretary, the new Cabinet Secretary of ICT, as well as the Prime Cabinet Secretary, have to say about this whole conversation about social media regulation in the country.
I don't want to say this because, allow me. You imagine you have a daughter and a son. And because you live in Nairobi, there are only 2 bedrooms. Yours and the mother, and the rest for children. Do you imagine what your son...
When we were being salamiwad, if I may use that terminology, tulikuwa tunasalamiwa. Sasa unapata mtu mzima, wengine hata ni profesa, anajua sheria, lakini anachukua namba ya mdavadi, anabwaga kule nje, anasema msalamie. And he's a professor. Deliberately infringing the privacy laws. You know, and basically calling for anarchy. Why is Australia looking at reviewing the laws and making sure that they protect their children? You know, so that they are not subjected to this harassment.
Right. So that is Cabinet Secretary of ICT, new Cabinet Secretary William Kabogo, as well as the Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi. Just talk about this social media regulation. Again, in your words, well regulated. But then just picking up from what they're talking about, it seems as if there's more that needs to be done. You actually spoke to Kabogo just I think hours before he went to his vetting. Could you enlighten us on the kind of conversations that you probably told him?
Okay, what we're discussing here, it's not only about TikTok.
Yeah.
There is another app that is really dirty. That you can get into that app and you find very dirty pornographic content. That is Telegram.
Okay.
So when we are talking about regulating,
it cuts across.
It cuts across. It's not only TikTok. TikTok actually is well regulated now. You can't find such kind of content that you're finding on Telegram on TikTok. So what Honorable Kabogo is talking about, that you're having a young boy who is around 9 years and a sister who is around 7 years.
Okay.
When they get into such kind of content on Telegram, imagine what they'll be seeing there. So actually, I don't just understand why the government has still allowed Telegram to be running
What kind of, how different are the algorithms for TikTok and also Telegram that you're mentioning from other social media apps that do not raise eyebrows as well? What's the difference in the algorithms?
For TikTok, it's a place where you can upload videos.
Okay.
Yeah, which some could be educational. You can do business on TikTok. You can do a lot on TikTok. But on Telegram, you'll find that people are putting content that is really unpleasant. Yeah, and Telegram, it's supposed to be like a WhatsApp, a messaging app.
Mm-hmm.
But what they've realized at the moment, it's a place where you can share such kind of dirty videos. Yeah. So what I would appeal to the Director General of Communication Authority is to see a way on now to regulate Telegram. Actually, it should be banned, maybe for even a year. Yeah, because it's really dirty. That is an app that should not be existing.
So, as again, you're bringing up the whole conversation on banning, and now this again takes us to the conversation about what the committee and what it proposed. And just to skim through what it had, said in that particular bit, first of all, content censorship through machine learning.
Yes.
Age restriction, and that is what Honorable Kabogo has actually talked about.
Yes.
9-year-old child.
Yes.
Also talked about improved user identification, regulating live feature, revision of monetization policy, revision of the TikTok algorithms, formation of Digital Media Council, as well as an establishment of a TikTok Kenya office.
Yes.
Let's start with the final one, actually, which we have actually had the Ministry of Interior, Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen also talk about this, having an establishment of these social media platforms, having an establishment of the offices in the country.
Yes.
Is that tenable, really?
It is.
Does it even work?
It is, okay, my opinion, and actually what I wanted to advise the Ministry of Interior or the PS of Interior is that they can come up like the East African community.
Okay.
Yeah. They come up, the Interior Ministry, they see on a way they can set up an office that would be serving the whole of East Africa. So if the office is in Nairobi, yeah, it can serve Uganda, it can serve Tanzania, it can serve DRC, it can serve Rwanda. Because it's not going to be possible for each and every platform to set up an office in an African country. Yeah, but that was from our petition.
Okay.
Those were the recommendations.
All right.
That they have to set up an office in Nairobi. But I remember when we did our petition, the global CEO, TikTok CEO,
yes,
when he called our president, he had committed that they're going to set up an office in Nairobi. If they have an office in South Africa, why can't they set it up here? Yeah, it's very ironical that when we talked about TikTok, when he brought up the petition, they would send a team from South Africa to come to Nairobi.
But Bonandolo, they have the MS Majorel Kenya Limited, they have subcontracted it to be the domestic content moderator here in Kenya. Isn't that enough?
Okay, when we appeared before the committee, do you know the reason why they want the office to be set up here? In Kenya, we have almost 44 tribes.
Okay.
There are those who use different vernacular languages, yeah, on content that they put on this platform, yeah. So that company, Majorel, that you are talking about,
yeah,
their work is to regulate English
and
Kiswahili, and maybe it's called Africana.
Okay.
What about any other tribe? If they set up an office here in Nairobi, then they will employ all the 44 tribes, yeah, to help them in regulating. Is it someone, let's say I come from maybe Nyanza, yeah, and I would want to abuse someone from Central Kenya, yeah,
using a language
that someone from Central Kenya cannot get,
okay,
and it's already down there, even if it's politically and all that. Who is supposed to regulate that? Those are the reasons why we want the offices to be embedded here, so it would be easier,
okay,
to regulate all these languages.
Right.
Yes. So that is one of the major reasons.
Right.
Yes.
So again, the committee chaired by Nicholas Bai found out that this particular MS Majorel Kenya Limited has about 250 human content moderators. And what I understand is that TikTok has a two-tier system of moderating its content. It has first the AI and then the human moderators if the AI doesn't really work.
Yes.
Should we be talking about increasing our human moderators in the country, policing each other really? Because, I mean, 250 and comparing to the usage, 10 plus million users in the country, that's definitely quite insufficient.
And you know that Kenya is the leading, actually in the world, subscribers of TikTok, with almost like 54%.
54%, yes.
In the world.
Yes.
So you can't employ 250 moderators, and you expect that you can regulate almost over 10 million.
Okay.
Content creators or those who are posting on TikTok.
Right.
So if they set up an office here, it would be easier.
Okay.
And I would even ask you, like, we don't know even know where that Majorel is. If you want to, like, now someone has posted something
and actually reach them out.
And you want to reach them out. How will you reach them out?
Right. But speaking about people reaching out to each other, tomorrow the TikTok CEO, that is Shuchi, will be attending the inauguration of President-elect Donald Trump.
Yes.
A lot is going to be said, but then let's hear from the TikTok CEO first, a video that he posted on his TikTok page, and then we come back.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. As you know, we have been fighting to protect the constitutional right to free speech for the more than 170 million Americans who use our platform every day to connect, create, discover, and achieve their dreams. On behalf of everyone at TikTok and all our users across the country, I want to thank President Trump for his commitment to work with us to find a solution that keeps TikTok available in the United States. This is a strong stand for the First Amendment and against arbitrary censorship. As we've said, TikTok is a place where people can create communities, discover new interests, and express themselves, including over 7 million American businesses who earn a living and gain new customers using our platform. We are grateful and pleased to have the support of a president who truly understands our platform, one who has used TikTok to express his own thoughts and perspectives, connecting with the world and generating more than 60 billion views of his content in the process. To all American users, thank you for making our TikTok community such a rich and vibrant space, for surprising and delighting us every day. Rest assured, we will do everything in our power to ensure our platform thrives as your online home for limitless creativity and discovery, as well as a source of inspiration and joy for years to come. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. More to come. Those are not my words. Those are the words of TikTok CEO, that is Shuchi. And I can see you smiling. There's definitely more to come. Tomorrow is going to be a big day for them. I just want to sample your thoughts about what he says, the future, because having this millions of users in US, it's miles away, but then again, social media has a way to just connect us all together. These possibilities we're going to be seeing in Kenya, because these are genuine thoughts raised by the US government, also raised by the Kenyan government.
Basically, for the US, they are very genuine in their concerns. It's always being said that TikTok is an app from China. And imagine if someone is getting data, use the data from US citizens, and you don't know where this data is taken to. It's really very dangerous. Actually, I would equate it to someone hiring a car without insurance and giving it to a drunk driver, and you put your family inside that car.
Okay.
Imagine the outcome. So the American government is really genuine in their concern,
right?
Because of the data use. You don't know what the Chinese government can use with that data. So if they want to run TikTok in the US, I feel that it's right that they get a way by which TikTok can be owned by the American government. If it's not American government, then a business person from America. In Kenya, what we are discussing, we've not reached that level about the data and all that.
Okay.
As what we are talking about is freedom of speech, hate speech, and all that.
Right.
But what America is talking about is serious.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
User data.
Okay.
Yeah, because we don't know where it ends up.
Right.
So what the president-elect Trump, yeah, has assured that they are going to give TikTok another 90 days, yeah, if they can look for a way to sell it to an American or any American organization, then TikTok should continue being there.
All right.
Which is okay.
All right.
Yeah.
The CEO of Bridge Connect Consultancy, Bob Ndolo, thank you very much for your time and for your very, very important views. Continue sampling and throwing in your feedback. I'll be sampling it as we wind up the bulletin. Right now, though, let's get sporty.
Sports news brought to you by Maybets.
All right, let's get sporty now. And Tusker FC informs striker Ryan Ogam bagged a brace as he led his team to a 2-1 win over defending champions Gor Mahia at the Kenyatta Stadium in Machakos County. The sharpshooter now leads the league in scoring with a total tally of 15 goals. Meanwhile, in other results, Nairobi City Stars Right, to the trucks now, and Alfred Cheruiyot and Africa's 10,000 meters champion Jeanette Chepngetich emerged victorious at the 4th edition of the Tinderet Bangatuny Mountain Trail Series run held in Tinderet, Nandi County. Cheruiyot showcased outstanding endurance by crossing the finish line in 1 hour, 9 seconds, 0.4 ahead of Ken Koros and Richard Atuya. In the women's category, Jeanette Chepngetich claimed the title by clocking 1 hour, 23 seconds, 0.18 ahead of South Rift Mercy Chepuntai and Miriam Chepkiroi. This year's race saw a record-breaking participation with over 2,000 athletes joining the Mountain Trail Series run.
Ya leo ilikuwa ngumu sana, sijaikimbia mountain, lakini nashukuru Mungu sababu nimemanage kuwin. Nilikuwa naendelea kulota, nashukuru Mungu kwa nimepata mileage sahi.
Ilikuwa very tough, lakini ile kujikakamua kwangu, I think nimewezesha nikuwa mshindi.
This year the registration was very high and participants are very many. And we hope to get the best.
The best elite or the elite athlete will get a cash award of 500,000 and a cow, and the rest will be getting other presents.
Right, to across the borders to some sad news for us, Manchester United. Right, I know the sports reporter Bonnie Kimanzi is very happy that Manchester United won, rather lost. We're taking a short break. When we come back, we get into the whole conversation about peace building and the whole architecture of it in the country, particularly in the North Rift. Help us with this conversation is the peace building director, Mohamed Bare. Don't go too far.
Are you ready to elevate your business game?
As long as you're earning something, there's always that opportunity to save. And you start with where you are.
Kama wewe ni mfanyabiashara, huwezi kaa bure, unajipanga taratibu vile inavyofaa.
Join us each week as we dive into the stories of the world's most driven entrepreneurs.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
The Grind, where business meets brilliance. Tune in every Monday at 7:30 p.m. because your business deserves the best.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m.
Right, karibu sana. This is TV47 Weekend Edition. I'm yours truly, Stanley Nyaringita. Now, about 1 month ago, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, Musalia Mudavadi, launched the Peace Building Architecture Review, and just to basically make sure that in the country there is a peace building initiative. And even as a media, we have always been taking stock and making sure that we do tell you what is happening, and particularly in the north. And this particular evening, we are delighted to be joined by the Secretary, Peace Building at the Ministry of Interior, just to give us a whole overview of what exactly is happening when it comes to matters peace building. His name is Mohammed Barek. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Nyaringita. Thank you for having me.
I hope it's not too late to say Happy New Year.
Well, it isn't.
All right. First off, let's, before we even get into this particular peace building architecture that was launched by the Prime Cabinet Secretary, walk us through what actually was happening in the North Rift. As a ministry, you went on ground, you sent troops there and actually surveyed and talked to people. What was actually happening there?
Generally, as a country, we have come from far.
Okay.
It is said we are a very peaceful country that is like an island in a sea of turmoil. But as you very well know, that has been put to test.
Okay.
And we thank the gracious Lord that we have pulled through. And having learned a lesson or two from what we went through, the issue of reviewing our peace architecture arose. Well, there are many issues that traditionally affected structurally the peace of this country, especially in the North Rift, the northeastern, and parts of the coast. When people know where the problem is, it's easier to deal with the problem. Yes. As you have said, the government has done the rightful thing of pacifying by using the coercive arms of the state. And in addition, we have decided to engage the communities directly by dialogue. And this has added to the achievement of our disciplined forces.
All right.
In Turkana, Elgeyo Marakwet, West Pokot, Samburu, and Baringo, we have made deliberate effort, which didn't start today or yesterday. It has gone on for some time, of engaging the communities directly.
All right.
Here we have brought on board the peace committees, we have the religious leaders, we have the youth, and more especially the women. When you have a discussion with them, this is something that directly affects them. And when they identify themselves, the structural causes of the conflicts, the pillars, the driving forces, it becomes easier to have a solution that leads to a peaceful country or a peaceful north, which solution comes from the people themselves rather than being enforced. When it is coming from the community, when it is the leadership, when it is the affected person that says, I believe this is the direction we want to go to come up with a permanent solution to our problem, you stand a better chance of getting a lasting solution, lasting way of management, lasting mitigating measures to the conflicts that exist.
Right.
So we have,
and allow me to ask you this, Mr. Barre,
yes.
Sorry to cut you short. When these counties that you've mentioned, Samburu, Turkana, Marakwet, Baringo, Laikipia, West Pokot, just to mention about a few of them, were there unique challenges in each of these counties, or was it one common problem? Could you tell us about that?
The challenges vary.
Okay.
The causes of the conflict vary. But generally, they revolve around resource conflict, resource management, use of resources. They revolve around inclusion inclusivity. People think that they have been left out for too long. They revolve around maybe to some level development. If I may give you one example, if an area is inaccessible, and you put a road, whether it is paved or whether it is temporary, you will solve a good percentage of that problem. And that cuts across most of the counties in the north. You will realize that some of them deliberately don't make use of the resources that have been availed to them, despite their leaders imploring on them to make use of these resources. There are leaders, politically elected leaders, who have put resources deliberately and put schools where it matters.
Is it lack of awareness among these people?
And you realize some of them, not lack of, they might be aware, but they put prime concern on the wrong priorities.
Right.
So sometimes the resources might not be used just because of the same conflicts. You will realize a whole primary school has been closed. And in these areas, the best cash crop they have is the education, educating their children. So if the best cash crop is not being utilized, then you expect the problems to last.
And you're mentioning schools, and I'm reminded that it is the season of back to school, this particular January mostly. What is the Minister of Interior doing, and even in your docket, to ensure that there is quite a lot of peace building, in particular even for these learners? These learners, 1 year ago, some months ago, their deskmate is no longer there because of this conflict. Even just talking to them, because they are afraid of, even from the parent side, should I take my child to school? Is it safe? They're watching you tonight and they're asking themselves these questions. Even these learners themselves are wondering, will I be psychologically okay to even continue with my coursework?
Fortunately, that has been fairly addressed.
Okay.
I think almost all the schools that were affected are now open and operational.
Right.
Some critics said if you're using security to ensure that learning goes on, then is it sustainable? But we're saying, as long as there is learning and as long as we have the means, so be it. We shall continue to ensure learners go to school. We shall continue to ensure that teachers can teach. We shall continue to ensure that schools are open by all the means available to the government.
Right.
As I told you earlier, resources is a very big challenge.
Yes.
The belief that the more cows or the more cattle you have, the richer you are, is being overtaken by modern realities.
Okay.
Our populations have increased. So that implies that the land for keeping these large herds of animals is shrinking by the day. So what we are trying to teach them, what we are trying to enforce, what we are trying to implore upon them again is to ensure that they go modern. There's no need of having 100 cows that can hardly give you 20 liters when you can afford to have 2 animals that give you a minimum of 40 liters per day.
Right.
The setup, the environmental, the climatic conditions, the ecological zones that some of these conflict-prone areas has the same climatic zones conditions like the places where we have a lot of milk being produced.
This reflected in among the 34 recommendations in the peace building architecture?
Yes, so what we are doing now, we're already doing that,
right,
is first changing the mindset of these farmers of ours, mindset. And we are planning, or some of them have already been done, with our partners to ensure that they see for themselves where these highly producing animals are, the conditions in which they are, Is it available back at home? If it is, then we'll try and change their mindset and ensure that they go into modern dairy animal keeping, modern farming, that is more economical for them, that is more peaceful for them than what we are now.
Right.
There are many areas in Elgeyo Marakwet where you can produce great quantities of milk. There are many, sometimes you don't even need a cool weather to ensure that you produce that large quantity of milk, if that is the target. There is value addition. If you go to a place like Elgeyo Marakwet, you will realize that some areas they grow a lot of mangoes. We appreciate some authorities like Kenya Kerio Valley Development Authority, who have set up a mango processing factory in Tot that has changed, that has made some of these young men who were busy in this cattle rustling focus on this mango processing. Unfortunately, the capacity of the factory does not meet what is there out there in the market. It can only process at best about 30% of the total production of mangoes in that area. If we can increase that capacity, if we can set up many other similar value adding or processing factories, we shall rein in a lot of insecurity, because those involved in the security will be busy in this legal setup of earning livelihoods that are acceptable, that is peaceful, that will change their lives, that will allow them to go to school. Because the million-dollar question we always ask is, for how long shall we continue having guns that are illegal? For how long shall we find pleasure in killing our brothers, in stealing their livestock? It cannot continue for life.
Something else that also crops up is the displacement of families. And I appreciate the fact that you talk about one of the groups of societies that you talk to are the women, because now this is a group that, left behind, the women as well as the children. And during any of this banditry and cattle rustling, there are families that are displaced, and they have to every single time, set up shelters each and every single time. As a ministry, what is the process of making sure that they have now a stable home? Are they able to go back to where they call their ancestral home?
The need to involve women in peace and security has been identified at the highest level internationally by the UN. And there is a resolution to that effect. So we, without necessarily even looking at that international resolution, when a wife, a sister, tells the brother or the husband that don't do A, B, C, D, he is likely to listen.
Okay.
He is likely to listen better than any other person, especially his male relatives. So women have achieved a lot by containing these warriors. They have achieved a lot by talking out of their missions, these young boys that are engaged in these activities.
Right. Continue.
It is not easy to say that you have totally eradicated, but we are also trying to change the mindset and the culture. They are retrogressive cultures.
Yes.
When you say you want 30 heads of cattle, when you say you want 40 or 50 heads of cattle for a young man to get married, you are adding fire to the fuel.
Okay.
We want those cultures to change. You can get married by paying the simplest of dowries. That needs also to change, and that change has to come from the communities themselves, including the women and the men put together.
Right. A conversation before you actually wrap it up and I get your final thoughts. Uganda is also watching. President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni was also big on this conversation, talking about the effects of the cattle rustling and encroaching from West Pokot, encroaching into Uganda. And now this, spirals the whole conversation, even internationally, really. Talk to us about, even in these recommendations that are in this particular architecture, the partnership between Kenya and its neighboring countries and globally, really.
Thank you, Stanley. We are not living in an island.
Yes.
Our communities straddle across our boundaries. We have Kenyan communities living in Uganda, Ugandan communities living in Kenya, especially those who are pastoralists. And we have occasionally joint meetings between Kenya, South Sudan, Ethiopia, and Uganda. And we have actually routine meetings that deal with these problems.
Okay.
There might be variations in terms of disarmament of these pastoralists who are armed. We are doing our best. Other countries might be slightly ahead of us, but we have not been left behind, and we are working as a community of neighbors to ensure that these ethnic groups that cut across the boundary are educated, are told that this is the way to go. The other day we had a joint meeting at Turkana, and we had road shows. All countries that are our neighbors were involved.
Okay.
And the target was to ensure that we bring to the attention of these communities that peace is the way to go.
Right. For your final thoughts, what do we expect to see from the Minister of Interior? Some kind of activities. I know you've mentioned about a few, but just to reiterate on them, for 2025, really.
We want to ensure that we involve the youth through sports. I must thank our PS that he has initiated this effort of bringing the youth of different counties that are deemed or seen to be hostile through sporting activities, especially football. In Kisumu, Kericho, Kisii, we had recently a function sponsored by the ministry through the PS that is meant to bring these people together who ideally don't see eye to eye.
Okay.
Through their youth. We have done a meeting between the counties of Turkana, Elgeyo Marakwet, and Samburu, as well as, Elgeyo Marakwet and Baringo, to ensure that these people first have a dialogue, they meet such that they don't see the other as an enemy, or maybe, as they say, one who wants to kill them. We are in the process of ensuring that our young boys and girls in school, both in secondary and primary, are brought to the fact that conflicts don't contribute to anything in their life.
Right.
We want to engage them, if possible, in practicing mediation to solve problems. We have focused on the peace committees at each and every sub-county, not at the county,
right,
to ensure that they are able to address issues as they arise.
Okay.
We have set up early warning systems where, in the event that you see things that don't add up, you have a hotline to report to.
I was actually about to ask you that one.
Yes, we have a hotline where they report to. And in this area, we have many partners. We have many organizations that are dealing, and NCIC is one of them, to ensure that we get early warning, process the information, pass it to the relevant actors.
Right. Is it one hotline, even as we wrap it up? Is it one hotline across the country or different?
We have many. We have 2 or 3. And ours is 108, and we have another one for NCIC. And there are many mechanisms that, apart from the official system that runs from the minister to the village elder, we also have the civil society that is engaging in this. We have partners that are engaged in this. So the sources of information, in the event that there's anything that worries or will affect conflict, will affect peace and tranquility, are many.
Right.
And we are making use of them.
Thank you very much for your time, for your valid opinion here. We definitely don't take that for granted. Secretary Peace Building, the Ministry of Interior, Mohamed Bare, once more, thank you very much. Thank you as well for staying tuned from 9 p.m. until now. Constitution of the day, talk about matters TikTok, even on this one, just to sample one. Someone says to regulate TikTok in Kenya, it's easy. Let the president increase TikTok bundles by taxing 90%. That way, only responsible TikTokers will manage. Jokers will be kaput. To every one of you who talk to us on our social media platforms, thank you very much. The inauguration of President-elect Donald Trump happening tomorrow. We'll be keeping tabs for that just for you. I'm yours truly, Stanley Nyaringita. Catherine Smaloi has been on the Sign Language docket. Goodbye for now. Have yourself a wonderful day.